The brain drain, or human capital flight, is defined as an emigration of trained or talented individuals to other nations or jurisdictions for reasons of either conflict, lack of opportunity, health hazards, or discrimination in the places they are living.
The most dangerous thing in the life of black people, second only to white racism, is elitist blacks. Elitist blacks are largely responsible for the lack of progress in the current quality of life that is exercised by the black masses. Members of the black elite often have the same opinions and viewpoints towards the black masses as white people do. They are almost white people in black faces. They have the same ambitions, the same goals. They are just as capitalist minded. They are just as interested in moving out of their neighborhoods or not supporting people in their neighborhoods. They treat black children just as poorly and meanly as any white racist or white elite would do. Elitist blacks are some ministers, some imams, some religious leaders, some business owners, some politicians, some community leaders, some college graduates who position themselves in relation to the power structure and sustain their existence in that relationship with the power structure by exploiting, misrepresenting, and misleading the black masses.
For me, Duke was personal. I hated Duke, and I hated everything I felt Duke stood for. Schools like Duke didn't recruit players like me. I felt like they only recruited black players that were Uncle Toms. I was jealous of Grant Hill. He came from a great black family. Congratulations. Your mom went to college and was roommates with Hillary Clinton. Your dad played in the NFL, is a very well-spoken and successful man. I was upset and bitter that my mom had to bust her hump for 20 plus years. I was bitter that I had a professional athlete that was my father that I didn't know. I resented that more so than I resented him. I looked at it as they are who the world accepts, and we are who the world hates.
What's your reaction, Chris?
Oh, this is very near and dear to my heart as someone who's very concerned about the plight of African American people. And I want to say a few things. First, Jalen made a bad choice of words. You know, Uncle Tom's about the worst thing you can call an African American. It's worse than the N-word. I don't like the N-word at all, but blacks call each other the N-word all the time. You don't want to call another black person Uncle Tom. Secondly, I know Jalen, as Grant alluded to, has been maybe wishy-washy about how he feels today. But when I look at Jalen, he's building a charter school in Detroit for inner city children, mostly African American, and I'm sure he's hoping that many of of them go on to a school like Duke or go on to become, you know, get a two-parent household, married with kids like a Grant Hill. So I don't think he really feels that way today. Thirdly, Grant Hill's no Uncle Tom in any way, shape, or form. Very proud of his African-American heritage, has a great African-American and valuable African-American art collection, great role model for black people on and off the court. Now, this is the big thing. This episode between Jalen and Grant Hill, it exposes some dirty laundry in the black community. And that is that there is an identity crisis within the black community, especially among young black men, surrounding the question of what it means to really be black, to truly be a black man. And it stems back from, since we were brought to this country as slaves, our history, our culture was stolen from us. We were told we were over in Africa acting like monkeys, and then until whites graciously civilized us. And we were told that being black is synonymous with the bottom, with what's worst, with dysfunction. It was synonymous with being ignorant, with being irresponsible, with being poor, with being violent, with being subhuman. And sadly, this was not taught to one generation of blacks. This was taught to 10, 15 generations. And today, that mentality still is prevalent among many African Americans.
Yeah, brother, what do you want?
You ain't no kin to me.
That's right, and we ain't your brothers. How come you college motherfuckers think y'all run everything?
Hey, is there a problem here? Big problems.
I heard that. You come to our town year after year and take over. We was born here, gonna be here, and gonna die here, and can't find jobs because of you.
Yeah, right. Can we go? Okay, can we just go?
We may not have your education, but we ain't dirt neither.
And ain't nobody said all of that, all right?
You Mission Punks always talking down to us.
Look, brother, I'm real sorry that you feel that way, okay? I'm really sorry about that.
Are you black?
Take a look in the mirror, man. Look, man, you got a legitimate beef, all right? But it ain't with us, okay?
Are you black?
Hey, look, man, don't ever question the fact whether I'm black. In fact, I was gonna ask your country, Bama ass, why you got them drip chemicals in your head.
Right, goddamn it.
And then come out in public with a shower cap on your head.
Like a fucking bitch.
Who you calling a bitch?
Well, if the shoe fit.
Now I bet you niggas do think y'all white. College don't mean shit. Y'all niggas. And you gonna be niggas forever. Just like us.
Again, we have all of this back and forth fighting within our community when we should be getting together, especially on ideas that are mutually, they're not mutually exclusive. They need to actually be done together. And it's interesting because Like It Is, they had a special for Black History Month, and they were talking, you know, they showed clips and things, sort of like the Eyes on the Prize series, clips of people back in the day during the Civil Rights era. And they had Kwame Ture, or, you know, Stokely Carmichael as he's known back then, and he was talking about the problems that he ran into even with SNCC, when SNCC was about to oust him, and he was worried about being, you know, a leader without a group, sort of the way Malcolm was put out there, and, you know, how things deteriorated from there. And he mentioned the fact that one of the problems that the black community has always had is the inability for groups of different mindsets to get together. And they also showed a clip of Eldridge Cleaver, who was talking about the Black Panthers during that time, saying that the Black Panthers at the time, they were actually made up of a lot of the people who were illiterate during the time. They were actually just mobilizing people who had strong convictions and, you know, really wanted the Black Power movement to succeed. But SNCC at the time was the students, you know, the group that was looked at as the intelligent Black community that could articulate things a little bit better. And the fact that the two never got together was an issue, you know, because it can maintain that division that we always have that keeps us divided and conquered.
And my only big disappointment is the fact that Black folk have come to reach a state of what I predicted back in 1970 would be, and every year, and you're right, every year I hit it right on the mark of what's going to happen to them. But obviously they continue to listen to the people in the most visible blacks in the country. That means Black civil rights leaders, and once before that was Black ministers, the civil rights leaders, now it's Black entertainers. Now we got Black entertainers that all of a sudden becomes the most knowledgeable people in the country about race relations, so we hear them speaking out all the time. People like Steve Harvey and what's that guy, Tom Joyner, and the rest of them who know absolutely nothing about racial issues, but they're out there trying to be spokespeople for Black folk. So consequently, I just surrendered, and I'm giving in to the realities of racism now, and I guess I'm pulling back, and I'm going to start spending more time, devoting more time with my own family, enjoying the rest of my life.
I was a black hat hacker, someone that illegally breaks into computers. Being ethical meant doing the right things, not only for yourself, but for everyone involved. My name is Ujovi Noor. I start companies. My major company is a computer security company. I started my first company, which was a computer security company, and it's been very successful. Within a year, it was making $2 million a year. I have a book telling everyone in the world about my life. Never would have imagined that this happened.
40% of the population is Qatari, the other 60% are non-Qatari, and that other 6% consists of Indians, Pakistanis, Bengalis, students from Nepal, German kids, Russians. So it's a very rich international environment. It's just an incredible place to live and work.
Our question is from Marlo Bannister. Why do the poor in red states always vote against their own interests? Makes you go, You know, that's a great question. And the answer, I think, is similar to what Martin Luther King Jr. faced when he was in the Birmingham jail. And he said he had a white jailer there. And he asked the jailer, do you fare any better than I do? Do you have any better options in terms of economics and social standing and status? And of course, the answer was no. And Dr. King's response to him is, you would gain more by joining with us, by not allowing the people who are jailing me to imprison your economic future. And I would say the same thing about the red states here. The poor in the red states are blinkered by those people in high status and economic, politically speaking as well, who prevent the solidarity that could be generated between poor people who are black and Latino and who are Asian and who are African American. They would have much more in common. But the racist division, the classist division, and the geographical dislocation continues to work against the best interests of poor people. And I would say to those poor people in the red states, the policies that are being promoted by the Tea Party and by the right wing have nothing to do with enabling you to have a better education for your children or to have a better time at your employment. Those who fight for fair wages, those who fight for the benefits of economically, and those who fight for your health care are, I'm sorry, in the blue, not in the red.
White working Americans and President Obama, that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. A new Associated Press poll says white working Americans are now President Obama's biggest nightmare. Back in 2008, white voters without college degrees favored Republican congressional candidates by 11 percentage points. But now, according to the AP, that figure has doubled. 58% of white working Americans say they will vote Republican in November. Just 36% say they'll vote Democrat.
How would you advise Democrats to shift the party or to shape the party or to be able to appeal to white Southerners? Or should we just write them off and say they're never going to be with us?
No, do not ever write off white Southerners or Southerners anyway. I said that before. They determine these elections.
The United States possesses the greatest university system on the planet. And the best and brightest from all around the world, the future inventors and entrepreneurs, come here for their education. In fact, foreign-born students comprise a majority of graduates at U.S. universities across many fields, including over 50% in chemical engineering, 60% in industrial engineering, 63% in computer science, and 70% in electrical engineering. A great many of these bright students want to stay in our country after they graduate to help build companies, create jobs, and design innovative American brands like Intel, Google, Yahoo, eBay, and others, all founded by immigrants. But too often, we don't let them stay. Our dysfunctional immigration system forces these future high-tech superstars to leave. At the same time, other countries are aggressively recruiting immigrants with science and technology degrees. They create fast tracks to obtain the world-class students that we drive away, because they understand that smarter immigration policies accelerate economic growth and shrink deficits. Ambitious entrepreneurs are now taking their talents to countries like India, China, Singapore, Australia, Brazil, Canada, and others. They could be starting companies in the U.S. and hiring American workers, as countless other high-skilled immigrants have done here for decades. In fact, over the past 2 decades, for every immigrant with an advanced degree in science and technology who stays in the U.S., more than 2.5 other jobs are created right here in America. Most of these foreign-born grad students want to stay in the country where they were educated, but our immigration policies send them to other countries to create jobs and inventions there, and often to compete against us. Instead of improving our economy with their breakthrough ideas, inventions, and technologies, we're making them leave. These are the scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs who will create companies, jobs, and wealth in the future. We want them here.
Visit the campus of any top American university. This is the University of California, Berkeley, and the racial diversity of students can be striking. Partly it's a reflection of America's diversity, but it also reflects the desire among ambitious students from around the world for an American education. More than 690,000 foreign students came to the United States to study this past year. Nearly 105,000 of those came from India, and nearly 128,000 came from China. And foreign students often excel, earning more than half the doctorates awarded by American universities in math, computer science, and engineering.
We've been a land of immigrants. We've brought in the best people from all over the world all the time.
Vivek Wadhwa, now on the faculty of 3 American universities, Harvard, UC Berkeley, and Duke, came from India to the U.S. as a graduate student and says the immigrant story has been the same for centuries.
Whether they came on the Mayflower or Air India, they bought one-way tickets over here. There was never an option of going back home because this was the only land of opportunity.
Historically, most foreigners who studied in America ended up staying. 5 years after graduation, 92% of Chinese who came here as students are still here, and 81% of Indians. The rest of the world has long suffered a brain drain, as so many good brains came here. Google's co-founder, Sergey Brin, came from the Soviet Union. Pierre Omidyar, who started eBay, is Iranian, born in France. Jerry Yang, co-founder of Yahoo, is from Taiwan. Vinod Khosla, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, is from India. But now a reverse brain drain is underway, as many top foreign students are taking their degrees and going back home, particularly to booming economies in India and China. China is working hard to get American-trained scholars to return. Chinese officials came to Los Angeles to show students and professors at UCLA a sparkling new Chinese science park.
This is a new high-tech hub that holds promise for miracles.
China needs more and more high-tech people.
For James Yi, with his new UCLA PhD in math, China's growing research and development is beckoning.
Lots of jobs positions disappeared in the United States, and more students with advanced degrees prefer to go back.
Even some long-established and successful immigrants are packing up and going home.
We are grateful to the education we received. We are grateful to the generosity of the people in the United States.
Shi Yinggong earned his PhD in molecular biophysics at Johns Hopkins. A naturalized American citizen, he was a professor at Princeton for more than a decade. But now he's back in China, leading the brand new School of Life Sciences at Tsinghua University in Beijing.
If China can maintain this growth rate in both quality and quantity, China probably will overtake the United States in 20 years as the most advanced science and technology country in the world.
Xi Yinggong didn't go home empty-handed.
How many of you have received their education in the U.S. and then chose to come back to China?
He recruited more than a dozen postdoctoral scientists educated in America to return to China with him.
Now we have the best and the brightest who came here, who are taking what they've learned from us back to their home countries, and they're going to compete with us.
When President Obama honored math and science educators, he acknowledged the importance of nurturing the next generation of researchers and engineers.
Our future depends on reaffirming America's role as the world's engine of scientific discovery and technological innovation.
Among those receiving awards at the White House was Professor Frank Bayless of San Francisco State University. His solution to the departure of so many smart foreign students is to find more smart American students.
To fill that void, we obviously need to look at the domestic pool.
Bayless runs a program at San Francisco State that supports low-income and minority students whose potential in math and science may not have been realized. As more and more top foreign students decide to head home, schools like San Francisco State figure the answer to the reverse brain drain is to make sure good American brains don't go down the drain.
Bledsoe Technologies is a global tech company and apparently one of the fastest growing in the U.S. Oh yeah, its founder and CEO, Jalen Bledsoe, is a 15-year-old high school sophomore. After launching the company about 3 years ago, Bledsoe is worth around $3.5 million. Wow. Talk about doing big things. Bledsoe Technologies does web design and graphics for other companies. Bledsoe's About page says we are focused on assisting small to mid-sized businesses establish high usage of technology within their organizations, as well as establishing a strong web presence. And they must be doing a pretty good job at it. As of now, Bledsoe has 150 employees around the country. This month, he plans to speak at Trip Start Day by Independent Youth in St. Louis. The goal of the program is peer-to-peer interaction with other successful teen entrepreneurs. Bledsoe says he is now working with hotels to build an online check-in system where your phone will double as a room key. He also says college is in his future. He wants to go to Vanderbilt, then Harvard, and double major in business administration and computer science. He must have some really proud parents.
You're about to meet the head of Bledsoe Technologies. He is the CEO and president of one of the nation's fastest growing corporations, the #1 IT consultancy firm run by a minor in the Midwest. Yes, I said minor. When we last checked in with Jalen Bledsoe, he was 13 years old and promising to hire and expand his business when he got to high school. He's now a sophomore in high school, and we are asking him to come in and talk about that expansion. Thanks so much for coming in. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tell us about your business, how you got started, and I was always told when I was your age not to ask this, but you're a millionaire.
Valued at $1 million, yes.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
You know, it's an IT company. We work on IT consultations to companies in St. Louis as well as global across the U.S. now. We do website designs, graphics, as well as server consulting purchases with Lenovo and Microsoft. So yeah, it's pretty much IT consultation around the...
How old were you when this started?
I was 13 years old, 12, 13 years old when I first got started as an LLC in 2012.
And you had a mentor?
Yeah, Scott Schnook. He's been an amazing guy in this process.
From the grocery store chain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bledsoe says his mentor is Scott Schnook, the CEO of Schnook's grocery store.
And what information did he give you in a nutshell that helped you get this start?
Take risks. You know, there's nothing you can do as a minor that'll shoot you down for too long. Because you're young, you can jump back up and keep going. And that's one thing I lived by since then, is to keep going and move forward and always take risks.
Well, you do what you know, and you love what you do. And you're also working with another entrepreneur. You've got a big event coming up.
Yes, it's Trip Start Day by Independent Youth. We're speaking at SLU on September 23rd, and it's a peer-to-peer mentoring program where we have 14 youth entrepreneurs from around the country. Lachlan Johnson, she did Flip Out. She was on Shark Tank a few years ago, actually. Adele Ann Taylor, nonprofit entrepreneur, as well as Jim McKelvey, the co-founder of Square, will be speaking at this event.
That's fantastic. How many employees do you have at this point? Because that's what you said when you were 13. You wanted to expand the business.
At 13, I had 2 contractors. Now I have 150 contractors around the country.
That is fantastic. How does that work for you as far as having a contractor? What's your responsibility with them?
Delegating tasks to them and making sure they get done and paying their paychecks, of course.
And what's the next big thing?
Next big thing is actually I'm working on a hotel project with a few hotels called Check-in Mobile. Check into the hotel from your phone and use your phone as your key as well.
Hey, Randy, we should invest in this guy. Hey, Randy, we should invest in this guy.
We should invest in this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Jalen Bledsoe.
How are you guys doing today? So a little bit about myself and Jalen Bledsoe. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Jalen D. Bledsoe Global Group, Flair Digital Agency, and Jalen D. Bledsoe Productions. I'm 17 years old, started my first company when I was 12 years old. At that time, I was technology consulting, helping businesses develop their websites and apps. You have to be okay with failure. You know, I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. I've started 4 total companies. Every one has been successful so far. In each one of those, I've learned the success that I achieved in the end came from me failing, making mistakes, and being okay with it. I have a degree, but I didn't go to college. I have a degree in what I call failure. When you fail, you learn how to achieve other things in a much faster and more efficient way. Who understands what efficiency means for a business? What does it mean? Tell me. Make money. Yes. Being efficient by failing early, in the end, it's all efficiency, and it's the more money you make. Let me ask this question. Who wants to be successful? Think to yourself, how are you going to get there? You got to work hard, but let me tell you this first. In order to achieve success, success in your mind has to be proper. If your goal is to become a billionaire or a millionaire, you're not going to get there. Who's ever heard of Mark Zuckerberg? Zuckerberg. He created Facebook. Who's ever heard of Bill Gates? There we go. So they didn't start those companies to become overnight millionaires or billionaires. They started the companies to make lives easier and impact lives. Their passion was computers, so how can I apply computing to changing lives? They created Facebook, they created Microsoft, they created these platforms, Apple, first to help impact lives. And because their value was in the lives they wanted to change, the wealth came later on. Bill Gates, how much is he worth? A lot. A whole lot of billions. Who wants that? But first, what do you have to go after? Go after changing lives. Your true net worth is only found in the network of lives you change with the passion you love. And when we're okay with accepting failure, our success is going to come a lot faster. Repeat after me on this one. I will not let my setback cause me to sit back. Because while everyone else is laughing, I'm preparing for my comeback. Thank you.
In anticipation of a profound insight from Minister Farrakhan, I prepared a chart. And this is a chart that I think says in another way what he so profoundly provided us today. This chart to me represents beautiful, educated, moneyed black people all over America. It could represent black organizations, it could represent black churches, it could represent black social and civic organizations. And what you will notice about these beautiful black people all over America is that everybody is doing their own thing. Caught up in a Eurocentric value of rugged individualism, having forgotten that it takes a village to raise a child. There is no power here, brothers and sisters. There is no power here. Power is most effective concentrated. You can take a 55-gallon drum of water, spill it over, it will disperse, find its own level, and eventually evaporate. You can take that same 55-gallon drum of water, put it under pressure, put a lid on it, put a hose in it, put a nozzle on the end of that hose, and it can cut concrete. There is no power with us being disconnected. See, there's nothing wrong with dispersion. I live in Cleveland, you live in Atlanta. We have folk in the Caribbean, we have folk in Africa. That's dispersion. That's okay, but we do not have to be disconnected. We are a disconnected people. We are powerless in disconnection. This is where all the power is. You see? This is where all the power is. Whether you are at the center of your own network or part of someone else's network, this is where the power is. There's a beautiful African proverb that says, when spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. When we connect, because we are disconnected, we're disconnected from those of like mind, we're disconnected from the best practices in our community. I don't care what it is that you want to do, what profession you want to engage in, what business you want to get into. I can introduce you to brothers and sisters all over America that they are doing it to death. You just don't know who they are. You are disconnected from them. There is no power in disconnection. Okay? When we connect, we prevent interlopers from coming into our communities and taking and destroying at will.
All right, George.
Try to open up the Booker T. Washington delicatessen in Chinatown and see what happens. So we must connect. We must connect the dots. That must be the movement for our people in the 21st century. We need a lot of us doing a little instead of a few of us doing a lot. We need to get together to get ahead. That is why we must network. That is what we teach at the Power Networking Conference in June in Cleveland. Come and visit with us.
Thank you, George.
Thank you very much.
Please
remember what it said in Isaiah. Remember what it says in Isaiah. And the voice of the Lord said, whom shall go for us? Then said I, here am I, send me. We must go, brothers and sisters. We must do this. We must take on the responsibility. We are responsible for our own success or failure. Thank you.